There are moments in life when words stop helping. Love no longer lives in long talks, big promises, or neat explanations. It moves in silence. It waits in the space between actions. And maybe that is why so many people miss it. They keep listening for a confession while the truth is already standing right in front of them, quiet and steady. Tonight, stay with this thought for a moment, because the question is not only how a man loves you without saying a single word. The deeper question is whether you can recognize love when it chooses silence over speech. Real love is often quiet. It comes softly, like rain at midnight, when no one is awake to clap for it. The world teaches people to expect noise, loud attention, constant texts, big scenes, endless proof. But the human heart was learning love long before language became polished. Before people knew how to explain feelings, they knew how to stay, how to protect, how to worry, how to suffer for someone they could not bear to lose. That truth still lives inside us. It is ancient, it is instinctive, and it shows up even when words do not. Many women overlook the strongest kind of love because they are waiting to hear the exact sentence, while his whole being is already speaking through presence, through care, through that strange shift in energy whenever she walks into the room. So keep watching, because by the end of this you may look back at your own life and see something you did not see before. Someone may have been loving you deeply, faithfully, and in complete silence while you were still waiting for the sound of it. When a man truly falls in love, something inside him changes. It is not always dramatic on the outside. Sometimes nobody else notices at first, but inside, an old part of him wakes up. Your joy begins to affect his mood. Your pain starts pressing against his chest, like it belongs to him too. He may never explain this clearly, especially if he grew up learning that feelings should be hidden. Many men were taught early that softness is dangerous, that tears are shameful, that vulnerability makes them weak. So they become skilled at silence. They bury tenderness. They hide fear. They protect themselves by saying less than they feel. But love does not stay hidden forever. It slips out in the eyes. It appears in behavior. It changes small details in ways that words never could. One of the first signs is presence, not performance. That difference matters. Many people know how to impress for a moment. Very few know how to truly be there. A man in love feels pulled toward your existence. He remembers small things you said weeks ago. He notices when your mood changes before you explain it. He watches your face when something feels off because your sadness unsettles him in a way he cannot ignore. Even in silence, his attention moves toward you, naturally, almost without effort. That kind of presence cannot be acted forever, because it does not come from attraction alone. It comes from emotional attachment. And if you look carefully, you will see it most clearly in ordinary moments, not glamorous ones. Not when you are polished, smiling, and trying to be perfect, but when you are tired, distracted, quiet, and fully yourself. That is where real love often reveals its face. Quietly, but unmistakably. Sometimes you catch him looking at you when you are not performing for anyone. Not when you are dressed up. Not when the room is watching, just in a normal moment, when your guard is down and life is simple. A man who loves you silently often studies you in those small seconds, not because he is trapped by appearance, but because your presence gives him a kind of rest he does not find easily anywhere else. Your face becomes a calm place for his busy mind. Your energy feels safe to him, and when a man finds peace around someone, he protects that peace in quiet ways. Even his eyes soften. There is a gentleness that appears only around the person his soul trusts. This is why silent love can feel almost spiritual. It is not flashy. It is not always easy to explain, but it is deep. Sometimes he struggles to confess what he feels, because real love scares him. Not shallow interest, not passing attraction. Real love. The kind that shakes pride and breaks open the walls he spent years building. Many men fear emotional exposure because love gives another person the power to wound them. And some are already carrying old pain, rejection, abandonment, betrayal, neglect. So when he loves quietly, Part of him is fighting a private battle. One side wants to move closer. The other side fears what might happen if he fully opens his heart. That conflict creates a strange intensity. You can feel it even if he never names it. He may come closer, then pull back. He may care deeply, then act distant. But if the feeling is real, traces of it remain. Love always leaves evidence. Always. And if you stay until the end, you will understand why the quietest signs are often the most honest ones. A man who loves deeply also begins to give things up without making a speech about it. He changes his schedule, he shifts his priorities, he becomes more patient than he used to be. Suddenly, he cares about things that never mattered to him before, because now they touch your life, and your life matters to him. The beautiful part is this: real love does not keep a scoreboard. He does not constantly remind you of what he has done. He does not turn every sacrifice into a transaction. His actions come from instinct. He helps because something in him wants to, quietly, naturally. That is why some of the strongest acts of love happen where nobody sees them. Pay attention to what he does when life gets hard for you. Attraction often fades in hardship. Love shows itself there. A man who silently loves you feels unsettled by your pain. Even if he cannot fix every problem, he wants to stay near you while you move through it. He checks on you. He becomes more alert. His whole energy changes when he senses that you are emotionally worn down. Sometimes he says very little, but his silence becomes heavier because he wishes he could carry part of the weight for you. Many men are not good at speaking emotional comfort in a polished way, so they show it through practical help, quiet support, and simple loyalty. The world may not call this romantic, but the heart knows better. There are people who say "I love you" every day and mean almost none of it. And then there are people who never say it once, yet everything about the way they move around you says it clearly. Watch for consistency. Watch who stays connected when life becomes inconvenient. That is where truth begins to show. Not in the loud season, in the difficult one. One of the clearest signs is how aware he becomes of your emotional world. A man in love starts noticing what others miss. He sees when your smile looks real and when it does not. He hears sadness hiding behind your laughter. He senses a shift in your mood before anyone else even sees it. Love sharpens attention. Your energy begins to affect his whole system. He may not know how to explain this, but he feels it. Human beings mirror each other more than they realize. When two people form a deep bond, they begin to absorb one another's emotional weather without trying. That is why he may seem nervous around you in ways he is not around others. Awkward pauses. A sudden loss of confidence, a carefulness that was never there before. Love exposes what is real. A man who truly cares about you does not always become smoother. Sometimes he becomes more vulnerable. Your opinion matters more than he wants to admit. Your disappointment would hurt him more than he would like to show. That is why a truly attached man often moves carefully. Not because he is playing a game, but because the connection means something. There is also a painful truth here. Some men stay silent because they believe they are not enough. They may feel they need more success, more money, more strength, more stability before they can offer their heart. So they hold back, not because love is absent, but because insecurity is loud inside them. He may look at you deeply and still say nothing. He may come close and then step away. Inside him, love and self-doubt may be fighting in the dark. But even then, love leaves marks. Watch how he speaks of you when you are not present. Watch whether he protects your dignity. Watch whether he listens when you speak about your dreams, your fears, your wounds. Desire wants access. Love wants understanding. A man who truly loves you wants to know the parts of you that are invisible to everybody else. He does not stop at your face, your style, or your surface charm. He wants to understand your fears, your scars, the sadness you hide well, the memories you do not bring up often, the reasons you go quiet sometimes. Emotional closeness becomes more important to him than simply being near you physically. Another strong sign is memory. The mind holds tightly to what carries emotional weight. So when a man loves deeply, small moments with you stay alive inside him. A random sentence you once said, a song that played on an ordinary evening, the tone of your voice on a difficult day, the way you smiled one time when you did not know he was watching. These details remain because love burns simple moments into memory, and sometimes he will mention something you forgot long ago, not to impress you, but because his heart kept it safe without asking permission. A quiet lover also becomes protective of your peace. He does not enjoy watching you get drained by toxic people or painful situations. Even if he says little, his actions show concern. He supports your growth. He wants you safe. He respects your emotional space. And when a man truly loves you, he does not feel satisfied by controlling you. He feels fulfilled by seeing you alive, calm and fully yourself. Healthy love does not cage the soul. It gives it room to breathe. Many people mistake loud attention for deep devotion, but attention is easy to manufacture. Consistency is rare. Anyone can create excitement for a while, but quiet love survives ordinary days. It survives routine. It survives stress. It survives silence. It survives misunderstanding. A man who truly loves you remains connected even when there is nothing exciting to gain, and that kind of steady heart is far rarer than most people realize. Sometimes love appears in tiny acts so small that almost nobody talks about them. He walks on the side of the road closer to danger. He checks if you made it home. He notices when you are cold before you even mention it. He moves a little closer when you seem anxious. These gestures may look simple, but they reveal something deep. Love wakes up a caregiving instinct. When that instinct shows up without drama, without being performed for applause, it becomes one of the purest signs of emotional truth. There is also a kind of silence that exists only between two people who are deeply connected. Not tense silence, not awkward silence, peaceful silence. The kind where nothing has to be forced because both people already feel understood. A man in love often seeks this kind of closeness. He wants to sit near you, walk beside you, share space without needing to entertain every second. Because when love becomes real, presence itself starts to feel full. This is rare in a world where most connections depend on constant stimulation. And here is the tragedy. Many people overlook quiet love because it does not look dramatic enough. Stories taught them to expect chaos, obsession, wild declarations, and non-stop intensity. But real love often looks calm, safe, grounded, mature. It can feel like shelter after years of emotional storms. Yet people who grew up around chaos sometimes mistake peace for boredom because their nervous system learned to expect turbulence. That is why healing matters. If you are used to pain, safety can feel unfamiliar. If you are used to confusion, steadiness can seem plain. But do not rush past what is healthy just because it is quiet. Stay with that thought. It matters more than it first appears. Some of the best love you will ever receive may arrive with no performance at all, only peace. A man who loves you silently is often most visible in your darkest moments, not your brightest ones. He does not vanish the second life gets messy. He may not always have perfect words, but he remains present. And staying present during pain is one of the rarest forms of love in this world. Most people naturally pull away from discomfort. They move toward what is easy. So when someone chooses to stay emotionally near your struggle, something real is happening inside them. At times you may catch him looking at you with a strange mix of admiration and sadness, almost as if he knows that deep love always carries risk, because it does. The deeper the bond, the greater the fear of loss. Some men carry that fear quietly all the time. They love with care because they know what heartbreak can do. Yet even with that fear living inside them, they keep showing up, quietly, patiently, faithfully. Love also changes the way a man thinks about the future. He becomes less focused on quick pleasure and more focused on stability, growth, and emotional safety. He starts to imagine what lasts. Even if he never says it aloud, his choices begin to include you. That quiet shift is one of the strongest signs of real attachment. Some men speak love through service because words were never the language they learned best. No one taught them how to describe their feelings. Or maybe the last time they were open, they got hurt for it. So instead, they fix things. They help without being asked. They solve problems. They carry burdens. They guard your peace the best way they know how. This matters. Not all love arrives through beautiful sentences. Some love arrives through loyalty, through reliability, through the calm hand that stays when the room gets cold. And sometimes that is more honest than anything words could have delivered. The deepest sign of all may be this: a man who truly loves you makes you feel more like yourself, not less. His presence does not force you to shrink, perform, chase, or wear a mask every second. Around him you can breathe, you can rest, you can speak honestly, you can be quiet without fear. Genuine love creates emotional safety, and safety lets the soul come back to life. It does not make you smaller. It makes you more whole. It reminds you of who you were before fear taught you to expect abandonment, rejection, or unworthiness. If you watch closely, you will see that love is not always hidden in big confessions. Sometimes it lives in patience, in loyalty, in quiet sacrifice, in late-night concern, in emotional steadiness, in eyes that soften only for one person. Maybe that is why silent love feels so powerful. It comes from something deeper than ego. Ego wants applause. Real love wants connection. And the world is full of noise now. Endless messages, endless validation, endless performances pretending to be intimacy. But true love still moves under all that noise like a hidden river, patient, deep, sacred in its own quiet way. Maybe that is why you found these words tonight. Maybe some part of you needed the reminder that someone does not have to repeat "I love you" every hour to love you truly. Sometimes the strongest confession is a life lived in devotion. Never underestimate the courage it takes for a wounded person to love sincerely again. Many people are carrying heartbreak nobody can see, betrayals they never healed from, rejections they never forgot, childhood pain still shaping every adult bond. So when a man slowly opens his inner world through trust, care, consistency, and attention, you are witnessing something brave. Love after pain is not small. It is one of the bravest things a human being can do. Maybe this is what fate really looks like. Not fantasy, not perfection, just two imperfect souls slowly learning that they are safe with each other. Two nervous systems discovering peace together. Two hearts speaking beyond language, beyond pride, beyond fear. And when this kind of love enters your life, it changes you. Not because it is loud, but because it is steady. For the first time you stop begging to be chosen. You simply feel seen. That feeling is powerful. It heals places inside you that words could never reach. So if you have been waiting desperately for a verbal answer, pause for a moment. Observe the energy instead. Observe the consistency. Observe the care. Observe who remembers, who notices, who stays. Sometimes life hides its deepest feelings inside the quietest people, and often the man who cannot explain love perfectly may still be loving you more honestly than anyone else ever did. At the end of life, people rarely remember polished speeches or dramatic scenes. They remember who stayed, who cared, who protected their spirit gently, who made them feel safe in painful seasons, who loved them quietly when everything else felt cold. That is the love that leaves a mark on the soul. That is the love that lasts in memory long after the sound of words has faded. So maybe tonight, in the silence of your own heart, something is becoming clear. Maybe you are beginning to recognize a truth you once overlooked. Someone may have been speaking the language of love to you all along, not through perfect lines, but through presence, patience, sacrifice, and emotional honesty. The deepest love was never meant to be heard only by the ears. It was meant to be felt, and if you can feel it now, then you already understand more than words could ever teach. Keep that with you, because once you truly see quiet love, you will never mistake noise for depth again. And still, one more truth remains. Quiet love does not mean weak love. It does not mean uncertain love. Sometimes it is the strongest kind, because it is built on choice, not display. It keeps showing up when the mood changes, when life gets busy, when distance appears, when misunderstanding creates tension, when nothing is easy or glamorous. That is when the heart reveals its real shape. A man who loves deeply may not always know how to say the perfect thing, but his pattern becomes clear over time. He keeps returning with care. He listens, he notices, he respects, he protects what is fragile in you. He does not treat your heart like a game, and he does not disappear the second love asks him to be mature. So if you are trying to understand whether what you feel around someone is real, do not only study his words, study his consistency, study his calm, study the way your spirit feels around him. Do you feel pressured, confused, and small? Or do you feel safe, seen, and gently understood? That answer matters. It tells you more than charm ever will. Love is not always lightning. Sometimes it is a lamp, quiet, warm, steady through the night. And the people who know how to value that kind of light are often the ones who finally stop mistaking intensity for truth. So if someone in your life has been loving you through attention, through patience, through silent loyalty, do not ignore it just because it arrived without noise. Some of the purest love enters softly. No trumpet, no spotlight, no speech, only truth. And truth, when it is real, does not need to shout. It remains, it protects, it stays. And maybe that is the clearest sign of all.